I'm at the Brown Family YMCA because today we are talking about swim safety, getting into that time of year where we're going to be, no doubt, heading to pools and beaches and that kind of thing. So let me introduce you to Jessica Winberry. She's a prevention coordinator with Safe Kids Northeast Florida, and Delanix Cortez, Vice President of Operations at First Coast YMCA. So thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having
me. Of course. I know this is such an important topic. So let's talk about the risk. Who is at risk for drowning?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's at risk for drowning. So we live around water everywhere we are, but children 1 to 4 are really at a high risk. It's actually the #1 cause of their death. So in that ages of 1 to 4, #1 cause of death is drowning. And then it's a leading cause of death in other age populations. So those little ones, our teens are at risk. And then children with autism actually have an increased risk as well.
Yeah, and we definitely want to eliminate that,
Absolutely.
right? So what are some of the ways that we can keep them safe with some layers of protection?
Yeah, so there's no one way to drown proof somebody. So there's multiple things that we want to do to try to help kind of reduce that risk. And so we're always talking about active supervision. So when we think about active supervision, we're always asking for someone to be a water watcher. So a pool is the #1 site for drowning in that 1 to 4-year-old range. And oftentimes it happens because we've had a lapse in supervision. So really designating one adult that's going to be kind of watching the kids in the pool, especially if we don't have a lifeguard present.
Right.
Obviously a lifeguard is going to increase that chance of that child not drowning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we also want to think about having door and window alarms. One of the ways we see drownings happen are during non-swim time. So that child just gets out of the house and gets into the pool when parents aren't paying attention or aren't aware of it. So that's one way to do it. And then we also want to make sure that kids are, just supervised at all times.
Right. And you have some ideas for us as well?
Yeah, swim lessons.
Yeah. The #1 thing is just learn how to swim. That'll be helpful.
It's an essential skill, and
Yeah.
kids do need to learn how to swim. And parents too, because if parents don't know how to swim, statistics show that their kids won't learn how to swim either. So it's an important skill for all of the family to learn.
Right. And then we talked a little bit about pools, but natural bodies of water also surrounded by that here. So give us some safety tips for those kinds of spots.
Yeah, so we don't just deal with pools. We're dealing with the ocean, we're dealing with retention ponds, we're dealing with the rivers, we're dealing with lakes. And so when we think about the differences there, a pool is usually pretty calm. When we get out into those natural bodies of water, we've got waves, we've got currents, we've got undertows, and the water's really dark. So sometimes if a child or a teen slips underneath the water, it's hard to see them. So we always want to make sure that we are wearing U.S. Coast Guard approved types of flotation devices. So this is just one of many examples, and there's different weights and heights and types that you can use. What we want to make sure we don't use are these little types of arm swimmies. So these things don't have any heights and weights associated, and what happens oftentimes is they fall off their arms. So we are not using those. We are using U.S. Coast Guard approved life jackets, and make sure we're visible. So bright clothes, bright swimsuits, that way we're a little bit more visible in the water.
Right, that was a good point, because you can see through the pool here, but in the darker water, I mean, that's a lot harder. And then you have some ideas for us as well?
Yeah, stay proficient in your swim skill, but also don't get in bodies of water you're not comfortable in.
Right.
And parents need to watch out for that, teens, and just don't get into the water if you don't know what the conditions of the water are. And what's really cool is First Coast YMCA offers the entire community free swim testing, so they could go to any YMCA that has a pool in the First Coast and get tested for their swim skill. And if they don't know how to swim or they just want to improve their swim proficiency, then they can sign up for one of our swim lessons or safety around the water. And they could do that at any of our branches or visit our website.
Now for that free test, is it all ages or just children?
All ages.
That's pretty cool. Well, how can we sign up for that?
Well, you can go to one of the branches and go ahead and get your swim test there, or you can visit our website, fcl-utility.org, and get some more information from there.
Awesome, and how can we get more of your information?
So folks can visit wolfsonchildrens.com/safekids and get more information about drowning prevention and water safety.
Yeah, y'all doing great things for our community. Thank you so much for having me here today, and safe swimming. And if you'd like to see this interview again, everyone, just head to First Coast News Plus.